Well, welcome everyone. Kind of maybe expected this number of people, and that's great. I would like to ask a question before I get started. I would ask for somebody to let me know why you're here, and not because it's a place to stay between the previous session and this session. Can anybody, I'll just ask the question. Anybody willing to answer? Why are you here? Why are you in my session right now?
By mistake. I'm serious now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
IBM does so many things and changes so frequently that I'm interested what IBM is actually doing in cybersecurity at the moment. Usually IBM is connected to Watson, so I expect maybe some referring to Watson, but I'm actually not sure.
A little bit. Well, I'm doing another session at 4 o'clock in the upstairs, and we'll have more of that there. So, and Watson's part of that story for sure. As you know, Watson and IBM kind of go together. Well, in any event, for those of you who are here, I'm glad. What I want to, well, first off, I'm very happy to be in Latvia. I'm from the States. I've never been here, and it's very exciting. So I'm going to spend an extra day tomorrow. I'm asking people for ideas for how to spend that day. I've gotten some good ideas. What I want to spend a few minutes on is talking about some technologies and capabilities that we think can really be a kind of a different way to look at how you want to properly secure your environment. You made the comment a moment ago that IBM is always changing. I'm actually going to be talking about something that has been around for over 50 years. And it's been changing and evolving. And I think it's an interesting way to think about doing your IT in general, and particularly an interesting way to think about securing your environment. And what I'm talking about is the IBM Z14, otherwise known as the mainframe. People have any experience with IBM mainframes? Okay, good. The mainframe has been around since 1964. It's hard to believe that there is any sort of computing capabilities that exist in this world today that's being used for real work that could be around that long, but it has been. It's been over 50 years at this point, and it's an incredibly vibrant technology, very incredibly vibrant capability that hopefully when I finish up this session, I will have persuaded you that there's really no IT environment that's as secure, that's as available, as reliable, and most importantly, as affordable as the IBM mainframe. Now, you might start out saying, well, how can you compare the mainframe to, to a PC or to a simple Wintel server? Well, that's very true if the workload's small. But as your workload increases, it doesn't take very much for the mainframe to be an incredibly affordable environment and a very open environment. There are aspects of the mainframe that are somewhat proprietary for sure, but that said, we could talk today about how we could take your existing workloads and as they grow, move them to a Z14 environment, and you'll get a lower cost of ownership long term, along with having an environment which is a good deal more secure and a good deal more available and reliable and scalable. So, I've been around working with the mainframe, not since 1964, though my hair maybe kind of looks that way. But that said, I started working with the mainframe in about 1973. In 1991, a noted IT columnist at the time, Stuart Alsop, predicted that the last mainframe would be unplugged on March 15th, 1996. Well, in 2001, he had to eat his words, because it hadn't gone away, and in fact, it had expanded in many ways. Now, why is that? It is that way because of a set of forward-thinking investments that IBM has been making since 1964. looking around to see if there's anybody in this room that maybe is as old as I am. When the mainframe was introduced in 1964, IBM made a huge proclamation to their customers. You buy our mainframe, you implement applications on it, you'll never have to change those applications again as you upgrade your IT environment, upgrade your mainframe. Upward compatibility was a foreign concept in 1964. No one had heard of it. Before then, if you bought a new computer, you had to rewrite everything you'd ever built. So we think of upward compatibility as being just kind of just par for the course. You can swap out you can go to a new release of Windows, you can go to a new release of Linux, you can install a new PC under the covers, a new server, and everything's going to work. That was a brand new concept in 1964. Customers came running to it. But from there, IBM continued to innovate to keep it as a relevant platform. Originally, it was designed for high volume transactions, databases, high volume batch, high quality of service, and security. We've been thinking about security since 1964. It's kind of mature for us now in the mainframe from that standpoint. In 1999, we added the ability to run Linux on a mainframe. And in some respects, that's kind of the punchline of everything I'm going to talk about. You can take your traditional workloads today that might be running on Linux environments, on Wintel boxes, and you can scale Linux on a mainframe in ways that are just unfathomable. It's Linux. Yeah, it's a standard build that comes from Red Hat and comes from SUSE, but it's Linux. Once you've got Linux installed, it's anything you would run on any other Linux will run on this Linux, because it's SUSE Enterprise or Red Hat Enterprise. We have continued to add capabilities in terms of real-time analytics, mobile capabilities, hybrid cloud environments, and continued to build on the security that we've been building since 1964. I guess this probably works too, doesn't it? So you might think, oh, gosh, I don't want to use something that's over 50 years old. Do any of your kids play with Lego? You know? You could have bought Lego in 1948 and it would fit with the pieces you bought today. Here's a company that succeeded with upward compatibility between their products. So it's not just IBM. Well, okay, Lego's just plastic blocks. So yeah, there's some differences there. But we've had a commitment. IBM's been around for over 100 years. We continue to thrive, we continue to grow. We had record-breaking stock prices just in the last few weeks. People have been predicting the demise of the mainframe forever, and it continues to thrive. Oh, what did I do? Oh. Okay, thank you. So, a few statistics about how relevant the mainframe still is today. 71% of the global Fortune 500 uses IBM Z. That's what we call the mainframe now. IBM Z processes 30 billion business transactions per day, including most credit card transactions, stock trades, and money transfers worldwide. If you go to an ATM, there's a mainframe behind the scenes in almost most situations. It is estimated that today, 2017, 80% of the world's corporate data resides on or originated on a mainframe. It's hard to believe. A whole lot of people in this world have never even heard of the mainframe. 55% of all enterprise applications need mainframe to complete. 1.1 million CICS transactions, that's the main transaction system in the mainframe, are executed every second of every day worldwide. It's still an incredibly relevant platform that companies all over the world rely upon at this very second and continue to do so. Our CEO in the annual report confirms our installed mainframe capacity has increased 20-fold in the past 20 years. Why do our clients love the mainframe? Because no other system can do what it can do, and because our mainframe team continues to create new capabilities. That's why we call this part of IBM our youngest, oldest business. It's growing, it's thriving, it's still an incredibly relevant platform, and the reason why I'm standing in front of you today is it's an incredibly secure platform and is getting even more secure. I'm going to show you that in a moment. And I sort of set the stage on this. I know your next question is likely to be, isn't the mainframe expensive? Well, let's talk about that. Let's think about starting out to build a new deployment. And you need to think about the hardware and software you need to buy and implement originally. And maybe you think about that over 3 years. And so maybe the total cost of acquisition, that's what you figure out. All the hardware I need, all the software I need. Think that's the total cost of ownership over time? Not even close. You're going to have people. You're going to build networks. You're going to buy storage devices. You're going to have facilities. As it starts to grow, you're going to have to leave room for it. That's just for production. You're going to have dev environments, test environments, quality assurance, disaster recovery. All of these are going to cost. Not just the hardware and the software, but everything else associated with it. Time goes on. You're going to have to take care of it. You're going to have to plan. You're going to have to upgrade. You're going to have to migrate to new boxes. You're going to have to plan for growth. You're going to have to consider the cost of money over time. You're going to have to consider parallel costs for disaster recovery and backup and that sort of thing. Finally, what is availability? What's the value of availability? What's the value of quality of service? What's the value of having a computing environment where we start out talking about availability on what we call the 5 nines, 99.999% available. Anything less than that is unacceptable. You never reboot a mainframe. It just works. And it always works. It's incredibly scalable. I think we all think about this with our own PCs. You know, if our hard drive gets over half full, we're thinking about getting a new one because we know that there's going to be a lot of churning going on when you load it up. You never think about topping 99% on the CPU of an Intel box. The mainframe's designed to scale. It's going to run just as good at 99% capacity as it is at 1% capacity. We've had over 50 years to make that work. What that's going to be worth to you. When you start thinking about a broader cost of ownership over time, more than just the hardware and the software, but all the infrastructure around it, the people, the things over time, all the structures you have to put around it, oftentimes doing that in what we'd call a distributed environment can be more expensive than it will be in a mainframe. A variety of organizations around the world have done their own studies about, because they've considered, they thought the mainframe was going to go away, and so they looked to offload. So they've done studies. So we have organizations all over the world that did analysis of what it's going to cost them to move all their workloads to a bunch of Intel servers or Unix servers and compared it to their ongoing costs with IBM Z. And in all these situations, it was a good deal less. Now, there's some big examples of, the European financial 17.9, 4.9. That's a pretty big change. But in all situations, it's at least 1.5 times cheaper to do it on the mainframe when you consider the cost of ownership over time. Now, is this going to apply for every single situation? No. As I said up front, if you've got a low number of transactions going on, it's probably going to be hard to justify. But as the number of transactions grow, then that's where the mainframe can become cost effective. I think most organizations would think that the cost of a unit of work is not going to change very much as you increase the number of transactions. So the x-axis here is the number of transactions, the y-axis is the cost per unit of work. That's sort of the perception. But as you start to grow and as you start to get to multiple boxes and after you have to start to network them and all that kind of DR stuff, we find that over time that the cost goes up by transaction as you go forward because you got to couple all this stuff together and deal with all the infrastructure associated with it. The mainframe, on the other hand, sure, pretty high cost of ownership at a low number of transactions, but as you start to grow, now you might ask me, well, what's this number here? I don't know what the number is. It's really the strategy here. It's the basic concept that because the mainframe is so scalable, because you can do so much workload on a single box, your cost of transaction is going to go down as you go forward, as you take advantage of all that capacity. So part of my punchline is just nothing more than just the cost of ownership. Think about, as your workload increases, think about using the mainframe to host all that processing. As I said, they're designed to run at very high utilization rates. We did some work ourselves internally. We took over 6,500 servers and reduced it down to 16 IBM System Z mainframes. We reduced our energy dramatically. We reduced our floor space dramatically. We reduced our software licenses. And we're able to just get a whole lot more done. So if nothing else, another aspect is because we get so much more done with such a smaller footprint and smaller energy, it's a very green environment. The latest Z14 box, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. I'm going to talk about the security aspects. I've told you a bit about availability. It's incredibly stable. It's an incredibly resilient environment. It really is, for larger workloads, it's a perfect environment for your large workloads, for mobile computing, for cloud computing, for analytics, because it's all just built in. It all just works. As I said, we extended the mainframe so they can run native Linux, essentially. To the outside world, it looks like native Linux. Obviously, it's a special build, as I talked about. But once you've got Linux running, and you put it on this big box, you can reduce your cost of ownership, as I spoke about. Faster time to market. You can get a new Linux instance running in seconds once you've got things going. And you get the world-class security that you get of the IBM mainframe. Okay, so here's some examples of some companies that did that. Alliance Insurance consolidated 60 Wintel servers to one mainframe in 48 hours, reducing their complexity, reducing their IT costs. Bank of New Zealand had 200 Oracle servers, and they reduced their power by 40%, their heat output by 33%, and their data center footprint by 1. So they expect a 20% ROI. This last one, Sakub, I have a little video to show you about this one. This one is fascinating to me. Okay. This is a credit union in Brazil that needed upgrade.
Temos uma história bastante interessante que envolve inclusive minha esposa, né? Anteriormente nós tínhamos uma infraestrutura de muitos e muitos servidores, servidores que não, por limitações da tecnologia, não se permitia usufruir de alta disponibilidade. Resumo. Tínhamos então 300 ou 400 lugares diferentes que poderia dar problema. E nós enfrentávamos muita indisponibilidade por problemas técnicos dos servidores. E meu telefone tocava todo o tempo. Horas por uma equipe que enfrentou um problema num computador, ora uma outra equipe que enfrentou um problema em outro computador, enfim, todo o tempo tínhamos problema. E isso impactava na disponibilidade do serviço de psicólogo. E meu telefone tocava de madrugada, tinha que dormir com o telefone do lado. Minha esposa participava, inclusive, do suporte técnico madrugada. Passado o tempo, as mudanças com a nova tecnologia foram gradualmente sendo inseridas no Cicobi, chegou o mainframe, transferimos o processamento da nova arquitetura para o mainframe e começamos a usufruir de disponibilidade. Não dava mais problema. E de repente minha esposa me pergunta, o que aconteceu? O telefone não toca mais de madrugada. O que aconteceu? Eu expliquei que em função de mudanças tecnológicas, mudanças da arquitetura, agora nós operamos com um novo computador chamado Mainframe e que esse computador não dava mais problema. E minha esposa abriu um sorriso e disse, meu Deus, eu quero conhecer o Mainframe, eu amo o Mainframe. E aí o telefone não toca mais de madrugada, eu durmo melhor, minha esposa dorme também melhor e ela já não mais dá suporte técnico ao Mainframe, ao Cicobi comigo.
makes me smile. I just think that's as cool as can be. And yeah, again, I think it's a real world example of how, what the mainframe can do for organizations that maybe never thought about the mainframe. Do we have a lot of companies that never had a mainframe that moved to one? It's growing, but nevertheless, I think that's a fascinating example. Okay, so, and we make it real simple. You can buy something called Linux One, which is out of the box. It's all ready to go. We've done all the work, and you just kind of bring it in and set it down and start putting workloads on it. So we made that pretty simple from that standpoint. Broadly, I made some comments. We've done a lot of work over the past few years to increase its capabilities for doing analytics, for doing private cloud computing, for mobile processing. We've put a great infrastructure in place for companies that want to build out a mobile deployment, and security in particular, which is what I want to sort of finish up with. There is no environment that is as secure, as I mentioned up front, as the mainframe. Highest level of security certification. Encryption is pervasive. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Analytics, I talked about availability, and kind of setting up redundancy is really, really simple. And so you can set up a warm backup center in another part of the world and switch over to it really quickly and really efficiently. We've been building security, as I mentioned, really since day one. It's in every layer of what we build. That's one of the virtues of having this relatively homogeneous environment, that we've been able to think about security from every layer, from the metal through the operating system, through the applications and all the middleware. We've been building security into communications, encryption, identity and access management, all the kinds of things that really matter. We've been doing it forever. It's very mature. It's very solid. It's very secure. We upped our game with the Z14 release with a concept that we call pervasive encryption. You basically can flick a switch and everything that passes through the mainframe will be encrypted. Really, really simple. Now, when you think about encryption, I think customers have always had to think about this cost-benefit analysis. I might want to encrypt a lot of stuff, but there's performance implications associated with that. And so I see customers that make selective choices on what they encrypt because they can't tolerate that performance impact on everything. The real magic of what we did in the Z14 box is we really upped the performance of the crypto card that's running on the mainframe. So the performance is almost negligibly different. I don't want to say zero, but it is so much more efficient at this point, particularly compared to other boxes, that you really can think about being much more pervasive about what you encrypt and when you encrypt and how you keep it encrypted, because we've reduced that performance cost associated with encryption so dramatically. And we do it at really every level, data at rest, data in flight, network, et cetera, et cetera. I only want to point out a few statistics here. 7 times increase in our performance, 18 times faster than an x86 box, 5% of the cost of an x86. And so encryption is just a good deal more cost effective. So again, one of the ways that you can deal with your compliance issues associated with GDPR is to keep more of your data encrypted. It's a whole lot easier, a whole lot less expensive in a mainframe environment. Only about 2% of corporate data today is encrypted, largely because of those performance issues. And of the data that's been stolen since 2013, only 4% were encrypted. We can really up all those statistics because we've made that so much simpler in the latest box. I've been mostly talking about data at rest. We can do it with our coupling facility. We do it across the network. We can set up secure service containers. We have isolated key management, so we keep our keys separate from the devices and services that are doing the encryption to make that even more secure. We think about data at rest, both full disk encryption. So you might have experience with that. We've been doing that for a while. We've taken it up to file and data set encryption. We can encrypt selective fields and rows and data inside of a database, so that maybe somebody has access to a database, but that you want to particularly protect particular data in that, you can be selective on that. And then we give an infrastructure to allow customers to build encryption at the application level. We think all these things are important. You don't have to do them all, but all of these give you the levels of encryption to meet your specific requirements, whatever they might be. Encryption is not the only aspect of that. There's a lot of great security that comes out of the box in a mainframe environment. We help you do it even further. You probably heard about SIMs today. IBM Security QRadar can accept feeds from the mainframe so that we can help people do enterprise analysis. Our Guardian product monitors all activity. You particularly want to be concerned about people who have access that are maybe abusing that access. Insider threats are a big deal. So something like Guardian will notice that maybe a database administrator who maybe works in Latvia is suddenly accessing databases from an IP address out in the Far East somewhere, and he's downloading databases that he's never downloaded before. So that kind of human analysis are the kind of things that Guardian can look out for. And other tools to kind of just make this all a good deal more efficient. So the punchline of all of this is, for me, is that the mainframe is still alive and well. You might have thought it was gone. It's not. It's still driving business. It's still growing. It's used worldwide for companies that care about security, care about availability, care about resiliency. It can really be a very cost-effective environment, particularly if you start moving Linux workloads over to it. It can be less expensive than other Linux hosts. And the IBM mainframe really has unmatched availability, unmatched scalability, unmatched resilience, and unmatched security compared to other IT hosts. So I still think it's a great platform. It's still got a lot of resilience, even 50 years on. That's my prepared comments. Any questions from anybody? Yeah.
I have a question because maybe this system mainframe can be used by the new trend for the blockchain, because many financial companies looking for transactions.
I might have had the word blockchain on one of my slides and I went right past it. We've been doing a lot of blockchain work. Just in the interest of time, because I only had 30 minutes, I decided to not talk about it. But yeah, we've got a lot of things we're doing to allow customers to implement blockchain. Already. I could get you some more information or point you to some. If you went to IBM.com and just searched on blockchain, you'd find a lot of stuff there. So we've been doing work. It's out of the box. We've made big improvements with the latest box to make that a deal more feasible.
And you can use this hardware for encryption?
Yeah.
Yeah, this special encryption cards. Yeah.
Well, we've had the encryption cards forever. We've just made them really fast.
Yeah,
So
but there's algorithms that cannot be used for the new encryption algorithms, probably.
I'm not
I
sure.
think you can use these cards for some, because in the hardware it's built in, I think encryption algorithms, they are built in. So you cannot change them, or you can reprogram the card for the new encryption.
Well, in order to use the crypto card, you have to be, the software that uses it has to be aware of it. So we built software into our operating systems to take advantage of that. We have APIs available so that other systems, other tools could exploit that crypto capabilities. But yeah, it's not just. That part's not just out of the box. It has to be, whatever's using that crypto card has to know about it and know its protocols. That's where the APIs come from. And again, there's nothing really, okay, so we haven't had the crypto card since 1964, but we put the crypto card in several releases back on our box. We've just made it really fast in the latest box, which makes it just a good deal more usable. Okay?
Thank you.
So, you had a question? Yeah, it's my time anyway. Yeah. Mainframes are typically associated with very, very large enterprises using mainframes. Where would you say is a typical, or where does the typical customer start for mainframe? Is it Is it a company with 100 million euro annual IT budget, or is it if you have 250 virtual machines running on your servers, then it will pay off? Where's the typical customer segment?
That's a good question. I mean, first off, the first part of your statement is absolutely right. When you think of the mainframe, I don't know. I tell people, think big, mature companies. Okay, big, mature organizations, whatever they might be. Those are the kind of places that have been using the mainframe forever. I mean, remember, before 1982 or so, if you wanted to buy a computer, it was going to be a mainframe, period. You didn't have Unix servers. You didn't have PCs, et cetera. There's a number, and I can get you those numbers, but we're seeing, I mean, the video I showed, that credit union in Brazil, they're not very big, compared to the largest financial institutions in the world. So, and we have pricing proposals for pretty compact boxes that, a medium-sized company could very much justify this. You're looking for numbers. I don't have numbers for you. I can get you numbers. It's all online. But it's, again, it's not going to be the smallest. It's always going to be the largest. Where that line is in the middle is probably going to be different for everybody. I know I kind of weaseled on that answer, but that's really all I can tell you. I can say, if any of this is interesting to you, we have a service, I think it's called Project Eagle or something, that can come in and actually do that cost analysis for you to help you understand what it would cost you going forward to continue to just grow your distributed environment versus move it to a mainframe. So we've got a very mature business to help out on that, if it's interesting to you. Okay? Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank